Hello, this is video number 112. I hadn't received very many emails since the last one until beginning last night. I'd received one email, and then all of a sudden I got 3 more in the last 12 hours or so. So I want to talk about those 4 emails a little bit. One thing I want to talk about a little bit is kind of like a little story here. My grandson Eli, the other night at home, I guess he was looking through all of his toys and stuff. He's going to be 6 here soon, and he discovered this one toy. It's a little it's a green stuffed animal. It's like a dog, and its name is Scout. And it's one of those animals. If you push a button on one of its 4 paws, it says something. Okay, and way back when he was when he found it the other night, this is really strange because he hasn't played with this thing for a long time. My daughter said he was overtaken with emotion and he cried for like 20 minutes. And he hasn't played with it for like probably 2 years at least. But when he was little, real little, like 1 or 2 when he got it, and we would push the little buttons and stuff, and there was one button, the dog would say this one thing: let's make silly sounds. Oogly boogly, that was the silly sound. And so for like a year or 2, I called him Oogly Boogly. That was like my name. That was Pappy's name for him. And over the years, I shortened it to Oog. I call him Oog, or the Oogmeister. I call him Oog. And I told him that the other day, and I think he kind of does remember that, like why I call him Oog. But it brought to mind when he was really little, like a toddler, like at the end of his infant stage. And then he was a toddler for a year or so, and in the mornings, like we would keep him 3 days a week actually. In the mornings, I would go downstairs in the family room and play with him, and he would be toddling around, and we'd be playing different things and stuff. And he would always crawl over to the steps. There's 6 steps that go up to the first level in our house. And he knew he wasn't supposed to be on there by himself, and he would sit up on the 6th step, and I would always like to sit in my easy chair. He would sit up there and smile at me because he knew I would come over and sit with him. And I remember one morning I went over and I sat with him, and I'm talking to him and stuff. He couldn't talk yet. He wasn't talking to me. I remember looking him in the eye and saying, "Thank you for coming here and rescuing me." I actually told him that. And he looked in my eyes, and I know he knew what I was saying, because I was in a very bad place. When he was born, I was like 3 months off. I was just terrible. But I looked him in the eye and said, "Thank you for coming to rescue me." And he just looked at me like, "Yeah, I did." So that's pretty cool. So Oogly Boogly, he's Oog, and it was funny. He was overcome with emotion. That was funny. Okay, 4 emails here. The first one is from John. I've done a few of his before. Don, this email is for all those that just have physical problems. Sometimes I think I don't even have the same disorder that you described for yourself. I never had depression, fear, terror, agoraphobia, looping thoughts. At about 14 months off, I still have head pressure, dizziness, watery, stinging eyes, trouble standing, sweating, and so on. You rarely talk about the physical. I just don't get it. Okay. All right. And while he was on Klonopin, while he was on, he had muscular symptoms while he was on it. So this is not unusual. A lot of times, and I always preface everything pretty much with there are no rules in benzo withdrawal, because there aren't. A lot of times people will get hit the first several months with certain kinds of symptoms, maybe physical, and then later the emotional, the mental ones can come. But there are no rules. I'm not trying to predict for you, John, or anybody, that you're going to get the mental symptoms. Sometimes people don't get them, but often people will get one set for a number of months, and then the other set comes. I knew a lady that I'd helped for a number of years. For a year or so, she had like really bad mental symptoms, like fear, depression, anxiety, and they all kind of faded, and then she started getting physical stuff, and that lasted quite some time. So, and the mental mostly went away. She still had some fear, but it can go both ways. I know way back when I was still sick, I remember one of the first kind of like success stories that I read about was a lady. She hadn't written her success story yet, but she would post a good bit, and she had physical for like a year or so, and then everybody kind of thought she was healed, and then there was a little bit of a lull, and then the mental came, and she had bad depression for a few months, and then after the depression lifted, she was good. So it goes back and forth. You get what you get. There are no rules. I mean, physical, mental, emotional, they can be mixed, they can be separated. It's just this crazy. You can have one and not the other. So that, I don't know the reason. I kind of know the reason, I think, but it's pretty common to have just one or the other, or later get the one that you had the first several months. Okay. The second one is from Christine. Greetings, Dawn. Hope you are well. I hit 13 months on Monday. I'm hoping to come out of a horrendous 3-week wave. Your videos are helpful. I have a question. A gentleman in one of the Facebook groups commented that getting off of gabapentin, which is also called Neurontin, has been 5 times worse than his benzo taper. Of course, I've been mulling this around in my mind and have concluded that he probably didn't wait to reduce the gabapentin until his withdrawal was over. Would that be a fair assumption, as I don't get the impression gabapentin could be worse? Any thoughts? Okay, I'm on gabapentin, and I did try to reduce it by 100 milligrams a few months ago and was taken into my worst wave up to that date. I will not be doing that again. When my withdrawal is over, do you have any recommendations on how to taper off gabapentin? I know a number of people who are on it and have no problems with it. One man was able to drop an entire 300 milligram dose as he tapered off. Okay, gabapentin I was on many years ago when the polydrugging started back in the mid-90s for me. And I had been on it for a few months. I took the stuff, and I was on all kinds of stuff then, but gabapentin was one of the things I was on, and I took it like candy. I just took, whenever I was feeling like I needed to like space out, I would just take, however many, and just take them, and they would make me real wonky and weird, and it was almost like I didn't have to face reality then. I came off very quickly. I was still being polydrugged when I came off, but I came off of that very quickly. So that's kind of my story with gabapentin. But I think I've never really heard of coming off of gabapentin being worse than benzo withdrawal, honestly. And I think it's probably safe to assume, what you're assuming is probably safe to assume that a lot of people try to come off things while they're still actually in withdrawal. And sometimes I think people believe that their withdrawal is over, and then they start trying to come off of other things, and it just causes havoc. So you gotta be really careful with that. As I've said many times, I was on Remeron for 2 years. I tried coming off twice while I was in benzo withdrawal. I couldn't do it. I had to reinstate both times. And then after, it's about month 18, I was feeling really pretty good. I wasn't quite at the end of my withdrawal, but mentally I was good. And I came off the Remeron. I didn't know how long it would take. I thought, I started out, I'm not the most patient person in the world, normally even. And so I thought, well, I'll cut quick and see what happens, and if I have to, I'll taper slowly. But in 5 days I got off. I had some rebound insomnia, but that was about it. So I think your assumption is safe. You'll know when you're at the end of your benzo withdrawal. You'll be feeling really good, and then you won't be as scared either. That's how it was for me. I did not fear coming off the Remeron because the fear from my benzo withdrawal was over, and I thought, okay, let's do this thing. It can't possibly be worse than the benzo withdrawal. So I suspect, although I don't know, this gentleman he was probably still in benzo withdrawal. So when you start coming off of other things that you're on, it does actually make your benzo withdrawal worse. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're having a brand new withdrawal from the gabapentin in his case. It just means you are revving up symptoms of your benzo withdrawal. That's probably what's going on, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know the gentleman. I don't know his history and so forth, but that's kind of the way I assume that's how I would look at it. Okay, the third email here is from Karen. Hello, Don. Hope you are well. Sorry to write again. I am just wondering what sort of percentage of people end up with a long withdrawal after tapering, please. I am asking this because I tapered for a whole year from Zoloft, And now I'm 14 months out and still in a horrible way that just feels so permanent. Maybe my reaction to the antipsychotic 3 years ago made this all worse, and then I got kindled twice from reactions to SSRIs that I was put back on. I really don't know how much more I can take, Dawn. Does this really ever go away? These are the symptoms I still have most days, and the symptoms all wax and wane, with a few dominating throughout the day. Okay, DPDR, with a few actual out-of-body experiences, that's improving. Tight but twitching muscles, slight akathisia still, constant anxiety, to the point I can barely be around people. That's improving though. Feel like I'm taking my last breaths, like I'm literally about to die. Feel like I've got thousands of bugs crawling under my skin. That got worse. Internal tremors, vibrations, feeling like my brain is short-circuiting, air hunger, skin numbness, got worse. Bad balance, vertigo, inner agitation, chills, burning skin, no sense of time, physical sensations at times that my body is scattered all over the world, traumatized from my experience and terrified of the future, extreme weakness, brain fog, okay, light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, that has improved somewhat, ringing ears, all the awful mental symptoms, plus many more. Okay, I eat clean, drink lots of water, don't smoke, drink, or take any form of drug or meds. I go for walks. I feel like I'm not doing anything to hinder my healing, but I'm just terrified this is permanent. I so desperately want to be a mom to children again, to my children again, and a good girlfriend, daughter, and friend, but at the moment I'm just a drain on everyone, mentally, physically, and financially. Okay, let's go back to the beginning here to the question. Okay. Does this ever really go away? Yes, it does. It really does. I had spoken with, well, I messaged with, it was actually a psychiatrist in Australia. I wanted her to take a look at the 2 draft papers I had written, but she got back to me pretty quick and said she was not really all that much into benzo. She was more into the antidepressants. And she said that essentially, in most cases, for anybody who has been on antidepressants for any length of time, it usually takes a good 2 years to actually be well again. So I kind of, Zoloft, an SSRI, she mostly was talking about SSRIs when she was messaging me. So it's not uncommon. It really, really is not. 14 months out it's good healing time. That's far out, but that's not, she says 2 years, and there are no rules like with benzos, and there's not any rules really with antidepressants either, but I guess as a rule of thumb, 2 years is what it often takes for people. So you're certainly within, the ballpark there. Okay, the tapering part. I have known people who tapered for like 2 years, and they come off, and they still have a bad withdrawal. I have known people who tapered for a very, very long time. They come off, and it's just like stepping right off, and they have a little bit of withdrawal left, and then they're good. They're fine. I have known people who tapered very, very fast, or even cold turkey, and came off, and like within a few months they're better. So there are no rules again. But I do know. I think the guy who wrote the benzo book, Jack DuPont Hobson, or Hobson DuPont, the author of the benzo book, he tapered for quite some time off of Xanax, I believe, and still had pretty nasty withdrawal. So it's not unheard of, believe me. It's not even uncommon. It's relatively common. You get what you get. There are no rules. It's extremely variable. Everything about benzo withdrawal and withdrawal from other psychiatric drugs is very variable. There's no way to predict. But your bigger question is this permanent? Well, it's not permanent. It will go away. You're going to get better, but it takes time for some of us. It just does. And you're certainly within the 2 years that the psychiatrist who messaged me was talking about. So you'll get through it. It's just, I know it's hard. And all these symptoms, very common symptoms of benzo withdrawal and withdrawal from antidepressants. Okay, the next email is from Christian. Okay. I'm writing because I'm struggling really, really badly. Let me see what time I have here. Where's the... Okay, 15 minutes. I'm writing because I'm struggling really, really badly. I'm 6 months, 2 weeks benzo-free, and I just can't get any relief. The symptoms are simply relentless. I can't remember when was the last time I had proper 8-hour sleep. All the anxiety problems I had before, anxiety, some depression, depersonalization, are absolutely nothing compared to the hell of benzo withdrawal. What bugs me the most is the boaty feeling and really flat vision. I know that some people with DPDR report having flat vision, but I never had that before withdrawal in the way I have it now. Everything literally seems like a picture. My sense of spatial perception is completely messed up. I can't even watch movies because everything is so flat and blurry. What makes me so afraid also is that the aforementioned problems are constant and relentless. Other symptoms like burning skin, upset stomach, out of breath feelings are cycling around and they come and go, but those really nasty symptoms are constant and have been with me since day 6. I'm just so afraid. All I do is sit in my room and switch from going to the computer and then back to bed. I can't even nap or close my eyes in the daytime because I get some weird swirling images whenever I close them. Okay. Let's go back up to the top. Okay, 6 months and 2 weeks. That's good healing time for sure, but you can still be in the thick of it at 6 months, that's for sure. Okay, sleep is a problem. Honestly, I can't remember when I had a good 8-hour sleep. I've never been a big sleeper. For me, 6 hours is, and even now I still don't. It's probably mostly from the alcohol. I drank a lot of years. But sleep, I know it's very disheartening and disturbing when you can't sleep. I know that. That was one of the things. That's why I took the Remeron when I was in withdrawal. I could not sleep at all, not any. Okay, all the anxiety problems, all the mental stuff. I had anxiety and so forth before I went into withdrawal, like before I even took benzos. But the anxiety and depression and so forth in withdrawal it was like many levels above what I would call natural anxiety and depression. Most anxiety and depression, there's a reason for it. Typically it's something like a situational sort of thing where you have depression, anxiety, like maybe grieving, or you've been rejected, or you failed at something, or you lost something. That's pretty typical stuff. But the depression and anxiety from benzo withdrawal is many, many levels. It's not even the same kind of anxiety and depression. It's in a class of its own. As coming off all psychotropic drugs, you get the same sorts of symptoms, it seems. Okay, everything literally seems like a picture. Sense of perception is all messed up. Yeah, mine was too. That's really, really common. Watching movies, I could watch them, but I couldn't understand them. My vision was, I guess my vision was not. Some people get a lot of blurry vision. I've known quite a few. I didn't have that one. Everything seemed flat though. The boaty feeling, I had that for a very, very long time. The back and forth sideways boatiness, I did have that one. That one's very disturbing. I know a lot of people who have that one. Okay, the physical symptoms for me too, a lot of those would come and go, like the burning skin, the burning inside, the vibrations, heart palpitations. Like the physical stuff often came and went, but the mental for me it just stayed. It was like it never relented, ever, until the day in month 10 when I noticed in the morning I started feeling somewhat better. That was the first indication to me that was leaving. But up until then, it wasn't as bad in the evenings for me, but it was still very bad. I'm just so afraid. All I do is sit in my room, okay, and switch back and forth going to the computer. Okay, that's sitting in the room I'm in now. The computer that I had at the time was across the hallway here. It was in another bedroom. I would sit there and look at the forums like Benzo Buddies and some of the different, well, there wasn't any Benzo Buddies in Benzo Island back then. And I would read stuff there for a little bit, and then I'd get up and pace and pace and pace. I'd pace from there across the hallway into this room, and I'd freak out because there's 2 different ways you can go in this room, and I would freak out in my mind. Well, which is the correct way? The correct way. There's got to be a way it's the right way to go, and the other way is wrong. And every time I would walk in here, I would think that. That was just part of my intrusive looping thinking that was going on then. But it's very common to, I sat at the computer a lot, in the mornings especially, just for validation, like, yes, there are other people going through this, and you're looking for any little bit of hope you can get. It's very common. I communicate with a lot of people who, they have people like in their families or friends, or they have like a psychiatrist or therapist like telling them, stay away from the computer, stay away from these people online because they're not right. They're making you worse. Which in fact, for me, if I hadn't gone online and found yes, there are other people to validate me, I don't know that I would have actually made it. So that was my experience with that part of it. Okay, can't nap or close my eyes. I would get images a lot of times. Like when I would close my eyes, I would get, it would be dark, but then there would be this in the center of my vision, although my eyes were closed, it would be like this light. It would start out real, not much intensity, and then more and more intense, and then it would peak, and then it would like shrivel up and disappear, and then it would come back. It was back and forth like some sort of light you would see like at an airport or something, a flashing light that was very, very slow. That was one of the things I got. There's all kinds of symptoms in this. It's unbelievable. Anyway, very common stuff. It seems like lately, a lot of people in waves. One person who I've talked about here before, she jumped I think on Monday she jumped, and she had a day or two that was really, really good. I think a little bit of it's coming back. She had tapered for quite some time, but I think her withdrawal is going to be reasonably short because she did take a long taper, and she just, I don't know, we'll see. You get what you get. There are no rules. So anyway, that's the 4 emails, and then a little bit there about my grandson Eli and Scout and Oogly Boogly and all that. So I covered the 4 emails here. I know a lot of you are going through a lot of stuff right now. It seems to happen that way. I don't know. I used to think maybe it was sunspots or something, that like all of a sudden I would get people emailing me and messaging saying I'm at the end of my rope. I can't handle this. But you get through it. You do, and you will get through. I mean, I did it. It was hard. It was really hard, but I did it. I used affirmations like I am healing, I am healing, I am healing. Even if I didn't feel like it, I read success stories, anything I could do to just keep me going through a whole day until I got to the end of the day, and then I prepare myself again for the next day. And that's the one rule in all of this. You have to do it day by day, one day at a time, and eventually the good feelings do return. They will return. It does go away. I promise you, it does go away. I'm not lying. I thought people were lying to me in the success stories. I've said this before. I thought they all ganged up and said, well, let's write success stories because we know Don is sitting there reading this, and we're going to lie to him. And when he's there frightened, he's scared out of his mind, we'll just sit here and laugh because we know he's in a bad way. But they didn't do that. That was a little paranoia, I guess, there. But it's fear. That's fear. And fear is the most common symptom, even though John doesn't have that one. And I hope John, you don't get it, because it's nasty. It's nasty. You're just afraid of everything. So I'll let you all go here now. And I know this is the weekend coming up. I hope there's some good stuff for you. It's pretty nice here, sunny day. It's been cooler lately. I think it's supposed to get warm again. So I hope there's something good for you this weekend. And I will be back the next time if I get some more emails, or if something comes up that is really interesting and I think you would like to hear about. So till the next time, I'm right here, and I will be right here. Take care. Bye-bye.